Hello, 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 and welcome to the Who's Next show. Of course, I'm Mona Ricks, and in studio today, I have a very special guest, Miss Delinda Rogers.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. As you all know, we have been in our Survivor edition, aka the Overcomers. And today we're going to just jump right into some encouraging conversation, discovery conversation, and just some real talk about overcoming traumatic episodes or traumatic things that have happened in your life. So as we just kind of dive in, let's just kind of talk about, what you've experienced, what's your traumatic episode that has occurred, and we're just gonna dive into it and have some organic conversation.
Okay. Well, I would say that one of the most traumatic things to me that has been life affecting, even into my adulthood, is being sexually assaulted, molested when I was young, more than one time. And it's always by someone that's close, right? It's never that stranger danger that you're taught
Right.
as a little girl, in
Yeah.
the program. It's always someone close. So my two most traumatic experiences is being molested by my sister's husband as well as by my mother's boyfriend.
Okay, let's just stop right there, because when I say, oh, we're gonna just dive right into it, so instantly it's like there was a shift in our whole atmosphere, because it's such a delicate molestation, rape. It's just such a delicate situation, and I want to back up to some things you said, because we're always raised, don't talk to the strangers and stranger danger. But most commonly when sexual assault happens and rape, sexual molestation happens, it's usually by someone who
Correct.
someone in the house. In this case, a sister's boyfriend and your mom's
My mother's boyfriend
and
my
your sister's husband. These are people that have been deemed and vetted safe, right?
Correct.
This is my sister's husband. He's safe, you think. This is my mom's boyfriend. He's safe.
Yes,
So
you think.
Yeah, you think,
Yes.
right. So if you will, just kind of paint the picture, if it's okay, if you're okay to go there. Let's just paint the picture, tell the story, and it can be two separate stories unless they combine into one.
They don't combine. With my sister's husband, I don't remember my exact age, but I know I was at least 8 years old, or maybe younger in that age group. And being a young girl, you're always taught not to play with men. We always taught you don't play with them. You don't sit a certain way. You don't dress a certain way.
Right.
But I can remember that day like it was yesterday, from when it went from just normally playing with someone. I was alone with him and one of my cousins in a living room space, and he went from tickling me to going underneath a garment that I had on and playing in my private area. And even though you're told as a young girl what to do, who to tell, no one ever tells you if it's daddy, uncle, cousin, your sister's husband, how that'll make you feel. This is a person that I looked at as like a brother. I don't have brothers on my mother's side, so to have a brother, to have that relationship, I just felt like that's all I was getting. I didn't realize that it was something that would take my innocence away. And once it happened, I told my cousin and the family. But to me, in our community, we like to make being with the person that violates you normal. The child is forced to adapt to being in a space with their abuser. So no consequences was given to him. Instead, I was separated away from my sister, her children, and instead I was more interrogated, as in, well, why were you playing with him the way you were taught? And it was never the adult never seemed to be punished to me. Instead, I was punished.
So I want to just back up a little bit, because you said something that was so serious that, once this happened, you told someone. You
Correct.
did what we tell our children and our family members, and we say something, right? So you told someone, and then in turn you felt that you were kind of punished and kind of like set aside from everyone. But was there like a witness or somebody who you could say, well, they were there, they saw it?
Well, at that time when it happened, I was in my sister's living room, and we were on the couch, and my cousin actually sat at the foot of the couch. So every time he would go underneath, I had on like a romper. Every time he would go underneath my romper, he would adjust my leg, and it would make me kick my cousin. But she never turned around. She just kept saying, what? But I was so froze. I was, it's like it's a disbelief that it happens.
Right.
You can never prepare yourself for something like that.
Right.
And so no matter how many times I kicked her, she never turned around. And I wanted her so badly to just turn around so she could see what was being done to me, but she never turned around. So when I told her the story and I said I was kicking you, and she believed me because she knew that,
Yes.
I told her.
Right.
And she's the one that actually called the family and told the family what happened.
So, I'm such a visual person. So, like, I'm seeing this whole thing, 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about a little 8-year-old child, and even though the 8-year-old is not like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, it's still only 8 years old, not even 10.
I have an 8-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you think of this, and then the cousin who was there, I guess, how old was your cousin at that time?
My cousin is maybe 2 to 3 years older than me, so she had to be 11 or 10. We're still at that innocent state.
Yeah.
Now, she was very vocal.
Yeah.
When I told her about it, she instantly told the family because she was like, we have to tell. Again,
Right.
we're taught to tell if something happens to you.
Right. I think it kind of sets, I think so many people that this has happened to, I think that when they tell someone, and if it comes across like you were punished or like you're now ostracized and you're now the bad person, that it makes you then feel like it was your fault.
Correct. Well, to be honest with you, when I look back at it, the way I was interrogated, and that's why I look at it, because it's like they pull you in a room, and here you have to keep telling every adult that comes, the aunties, tell her the story. Now tell her what happened. Now tell her what happened. Now tell him what happened.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
so it's more so of, I spent the night at my sister's house, and I didn't have any change of clothes. So I slid on a garment of hers, just like normally what you would do.
Right.
They wash your clothes, your panties, and you
Right.
don't have anything on underneath that.
Right.
That, to me, as a parent, that doesn't give a person an open to be able to go and violate your body.
Absolutely.
Just because that happened.
Absolutely.
But that was those were the factors that they looked at. Well,
Yeah.
why were you wrestling with him? Well, why were you doing this? Well, why
Right.
did she have that on? Nobody just never stopped to say, you know what, this is a grown person.
And this is wrong.
It's
like,
wrong.
Nobody just said, look, this is wrong.
Correct. And after that, my sister actually continued to be with him maybe 2 years later before that. And the separation was not due to me. So, and he still was around the family. Now, for a while, I was separated and I couldn't go to my sister. I only have one sister on my mother's side.
Right.
And my sister have kids that we're 5 years apart, my 2 old. So when you separate me away from my only sister, her children,
Right.
it's like I'm being punished. Like, what
Yeah.
did I do but
Yeah.
tell?
Yeah.
So then it was like, well, why do you still want to go over there
If that happened
if that
to you.
happened to you?
So, as an 8-year-old, do you just, I'm hearing everything, so I'm going to ask the question, and it may even seem rhetorical. Do you just feel they didn't believe you, or did they not want to face it?
I think I went numb to it. I felt like no one believed me because if it happened, and I told you, he's still here.
Yeah.
So the consequences that you told me that would happen to a person if they violated you didn't happen. So then you begin to question yourself. Well, did I play, with someone when I was supposed to? So I can remember my first time going back over there, and I had a cousin that came from Dallas, and she was staying there.
Oh, okay.
And she told me, don't worry about it. I'll protect you. So I went back over there once she was living there. But I can remember my first night I slept, I always thought about if he'll come in there in the night, because to me, you've given a person a pass to say, if I violate her, nothing is going to happen.
Right.
Nothing is going to happen. It's her fault.
So do you know, and I know you were 8 years old, but do you know if he was ever, did anybody ever ask him about it? Was it brought to him?
They did ask him about it, and he denied it.
Right.
And of course, who will say, yes, I touched your little sister, yes, I touched your daughter?
Right.
He denied it.
And more than touch,
Correct.
100% violated.
Correct.
Yeah.
More than touch. Now, I can't say with that individual years later, it came out that he actually violated his own daughter, that he violated his second wife's daughter. So my story, if to me, I feel like if the adults would have done what they were supposed to do,
yes,
then you wouldn't have had other people to be victimized.
Right, right.
But I've talked to her, a lot about it with my mother, and she just was like, at that time, molestation was just kind of like not a black thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was kind of like back in the day, people would say, "Oh, African Americans or black people don't commit suicide."
Yes.
Correct.
That's correct. Or a girl is always labeled fast if something happens to her. It's like you warrant for someone to violate you. So on that time, it just was kind of like a situation that, again, you adapt to be in a room and be in space with someone that violates you. You just learn how to coexist with your violators.
So, I'm thinking to myself, like, because I'm an overthinker. I'm always thinking, how many times or how often did you play that in your head just because you were around them? Like,
what? It played in my head a lot. It played into my head a lot as an adult because I could see it. I could still see the show that was on TV, which was Rookie of the Year. I could see as clear as day. I can remember exactly where the TV said it, the color romper that I had on, the wall that I was on. It still is there. It still is there. So it doesn't go anywhere. You just learn to live with the pain. Yeah. And you just learn to let that part die.
Right. I know that we'll get to the solutions and we'll get to that, but I'm following the picture that you're painting, and I can see it clear all the way down to the cousin at the end of the bed that's watching TV, that's so into it. Then my little cousin's kicking me, and I'm like, what? But I never turn around because I'm so captivated by whatever's going on the TV.
Correct.
So do you know if she felt levels of remorse from that, or because
when me and her talk about it, and especially in our adult life, and she's a mother, she certainly is like, the adults fail you. Right. At the end of the day, the adults fail you. What I had to learn in my adult life is I was a child. Yes. That's what I have to keep reminding myself. Yes. Because when you do things as a child and you're ridiculed about it, it makes you look at yourself differently. Yes. So according to build myself back up to be better, I had to be like, you were a child. You didn't do anything wrong. It was the adult.
And the adults had a role.
Correct.
To protect you. And even in that case when you were violated by an adult, then they yet still had a role to take steps. And so before we stop and go to commercial break, I want to go to the second story, and then I want to kind of come back, and even before we go to the second story, I'm just so stuck on being able to literally see what you went through when you spoke with your mom, and she now she's saying, hey, that was kind of like a stigmatism. Black people didn't really get that. How did that progress, and was there ever an apology?
It was an apology.
Okay.
And it was what actually helped me get to a good place was because I was finally able to have a conversation with my mother. Okay. At first, it used to create hostility. Okay. It always was an argument, or it was always questions to where you're questioning me about my role, and it never was a question about the adult role. Yeah. It was more of, well, why, who, yeah. What were you taught? It just was interrogation. I always said it felt like I was being interrogated.
More about what did you do?
Correct.
Not so much that I'm so sorry he did this.
Correct.
Got it. So, I want to keep going, and I want to tie these two in. So then that was 8 years old. So let's fast forward to what age were you when it occurred the second time?
My mother boyfriend came around when I was in, I want to say either the 6th or 7th grade.
Okay.
And his was more of, it's like, you feel something with somebody. So in the beginning, we fought a lot. Okay. And I always got in trouble for him. And it was like, my mother is under that law that if adults say to do something, you do it, right? Yeah. And adult is always right.
Right.
The kid is not right. The adult is always right. So with him, it was a tug of war. I feel like with him, my mother left me more vulnerable because he studied her. He did a lot of time in prison, so he studied people.
Okay.
And he recognized that my mother was not as involved and in tune with me,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
And so after the tug of war and after my mother pretty much exposing me to him, like, okay, I got a girl, but, I feel like she fast, she this. And so he had that whole, he seen that I stayed punished. My mom always punished me. When I was growing up, I actually felt like my mother hated me. It was one of those, I could never do nothing right in her eyes type of thing. So with him, when it first came about and I felt it, I went to my mother, and I never forget, she was in the front yard, and I was like, Mama, I feel like he's trying to come on to me. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, don't worry about that. He's just trying to test to see if you're having sex. That's the way she blew it off. And so I fought with him. I stayed on punishment because I would, defy him. I would, if he told me to go fix him breakfast, I'm not your woman. But with my mother, if he tell me to go fix his breakfast, I should have went and fixed his breakfast, because he's an adult and I'm supposed to do what's told. Yeah. And one day it was just like I picked the lesser of the two evils. Mm-hmm. I picked the lesser of the two evils, and it was just like one day he requested to have oral sex on me, and at that age, I felt like oral sex was the most disgusting thing. So I didn't think that I was giving him any kind of pleasure, right? But it was like if that would just give me some type of
if that would bring peace to the house.
Yeah, peace to the house. Why not? Because he already was able to tell me. My mother had just started buying me matching bra and panty sets, and I'll never forget this one particular one was a purple one. He would always be able to tell me the ones that I had on because when I thought I was in the house by myself, he was in the house looking at me.
Oh gosh.
So it all started off as, well, hey, I just want you to put on your bra and panties, and you're not gonna know I'm in the house, but just put them on, right? And if you do that, then it'll grant you something, right? And my mother wasn't the type to buy, name brand clothes, different things like that. She had got to a point because I was considered to be tomboyish. Mm-hmm. She didn't want to buy the Tommy Hilfiger and the things like that, but that was what was in. Right. So instead, he recognized that, and he had an abundance of money. And he would offer me certain gestures to reel me in, And another thing I realized, once I became friends with him, he had such a control over my mother that instead of me being beat with a extension cord and different things like that, he could tell her no, and I wouldn't get whooped anymore. So that was that was good for me.
He was using his leverage.
Correct.
To essentially molest you.
Correct.
And make you feel like you were being rewarded and that you were being protected.
Correct.
Like, kind of like, oh, well, I'm protecting you.
Right, because I could tell her, and he showed me. He had that kind of control. It was once I gave in to him, it allowed me to be able to be free from my mother. I was free from her, and I just really picked the lesser of the two evils in my eyes.
At any point beyond, I know you told her the first time, did you ever feel like you needed to tell her after that?
I told her in different ways. Like I will never forget, I wrote a suicide note. And I think I wrote the suicide note before it happened with him. Mm-hmm. But even then, because I felt it, I felt something about him. So I wrote a suicide note, and I can remember laying in the bed, and I probably had took like a whole bottle of pills. And I can remember laying in the bed and listening to my mother tell someone about the suicide note, right? And it was like I couldn't wait until she could find my body lifeless. And then I said, I wonder then if she'll feel me, right?
Yeah.
If she finds my body lifeless and she comes into this room, then she'll finally love me. She'll finally, be able to see me and see my pain. But, as you can see, it wasn't.
You lived through it.
Because I just slept a lot that day. I just slept a lot that day. So because of that, it was just like that was it, you know.
So I have to back up because, you know, when I think about the desire to be loved or received by your mom was so serious that you were like, well, maybe she'll love me if she finds my body. Like, I'm willing to be the ultimate sacrifice. Maybe she'll feel what I'm going through.
Yeah.
She'll feel my hurt if she finds my lifeless body.
Well, I don't know if it was to be loved or it was more of to make her feel my pain that she inflicted on me.
Oh, God.
You know, because she just, I did never understood what did I do to her so much that made her be so mean. Now, at that time. Now, talking to her in my adult life, she was just like, I found out that, you know, my mother has hurts too.
Right.
And she basically, you know, was not taught affection because of what was passed down through my grandmother. And, you know, we don't realize in our lives we pass down hurts.
Yes.
We're just doing the same thing that was done, you know. So
transferring pain.
Yeah, just transferring pain, basically.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, I wanted her to feel it. Because I was like, you don't realize, like, you're such a volcano and you spit such venom, right?
Yeah.
To, you know, of the things when you say you look just like your black daddy, you know, and to where when you say you're black, you look just like your black ugly daddy. When I look in the mirror and you tell a person that 20 or 30 times, I begin to say, do I really look like my black ugly daddy? Am I really ugly like him? You know, black is ugly. You know, you begin to look at yourself and really believe that. No.
So, listen, y'all, I know we need to take a break. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I just want to tell somebody that if this is similar to your story of you know someone, take note that us caring, us listening, us believing is almost like medicine that heals or begins the healing process for them. And the worst thing that I'm learning that we can do is make them feel like we don't believe them, make them feel like we don't care, and even more so to even mock it. You know, you said you overheard her, you know, talking about your suicide note. So, y'all, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to pick right back up on this. I need to grab some tissue because I had a little makeup beat, but I feel that I just need to take a break and take a deep breath, and we're going to be right back with you all. You're tuning in to the Who's Next show.
Hey, network viewers. What would your day be like if you could watch your favorite network shows and view live streams when you are away from home? Download the official The V Network mobile app from the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Search the V Network TV for iPhones and the V Network for Android phones. Receive notifications on upcoming shows, events, and network giveaways. Download it today. Don't be the last to find out what's going on your favorite network, the V Network.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Davis Edwards, fitness instructor, personal trainer, and the owner and operator of Tiffany Enterprises, where our focus is all things beauty and fitness. Please check me out on social media, but most definitely check me out on the V Network.
Listen, we are back, and this is our Overcomers, our Survivor, aka Overcomers edition. And you know, I want to say to you that as much as I may have thought I knew about you, like, you are truly an overcomer, like, for real. You know, you didn't just survive that; you have overcome it. On the outside, of course, you know, that's what I see as an overcomer. Right. But I just want to, let's fast forward. So when we dropped off with, you know, the suicide attempt and you overhearing her, how did this progress? And let's try to fast forward to adulthood.
It really just continued on until I realized that it's kind of like I had control then, more so, in the household, because if I wanted to do something, me and him had become the best of friends, if you want to look at it that way. You know, in my mind, I felt like, okay, well, I have this ally. If I wanted to sneak out and go see a boy, or if I wanted the latest shoes, or if I wanted something, I got it. But also with this same power, I watched my mama be beat by this man a lot, right? So with that, I was able to prevent her from being beat. Like, one of the things that we had, like this internal code, that when my mother was coming through the door, I was supposed to page him what time she came in. But I would always page him 2 hours early, 3 hours early. So when he thought that she was in the house, she was still gone.
Yeah.
And that saved her from the abuse that I seen her go through, because I could just look down the hall and see him abusing my mother, or come back after a weekend and see him abusing her. So to me, it kind of helped bring a harmony to the household, even though it was the most sickening, disgusting thing that transpired over time.
Right.
I can't say it was multiple times with him, because after a while, he began to pick the men that I slept with. So it was like, you know, I didn't even realize, I even think to some of the sexual encounters that I had, that he possibly videoed it. That's one of my thoughts, because he was always able to tell me positions my legs was in and different things, or what positions to put myself in. So I believe in my mind that he's taken me having sex before.
Yeah. So when you say that he kind of chose the guys, was it like?
It was like, you know, it was one guy in the neighborhood that I liked, but after I had a conversation with that guy in my adulthood, he was basically like, you know, your mama's boyfriend, like, gave me the law, like, this is what you're doing, with you messing with her, to the point that he actually had a sexual encounter with him. You know, so it was kind of like this person felt like, you know what, he used both of us, you know, and it was like he used that over my head to say, hey, you know, you're having sex with this underage girl, so what do you have for me, you know? And
so essentially he did the same thing to him.
Correct.
That he did to you.
Correct. And he, you know, he used to give him drugs, money, you know, let him drive his car. And when you're a young boy, a young girl, those things seem to be something to get, you know, versus the whoopings and the punishment and not getting anything, you know, that both we faced in our household.
And so it became a lifestyle.
Correct.
So at what point did you decide, okay, this is wrong, I'm going to stop? Or when did you say, okay, no, we're not doing this, or you no longer have access to me? And like you said, after a while, he kind of...
He wasn't into me anymore. It was like, well, I didn't have to do all of that anymore, you know, because now I was kind of like on my own momentum, you know, messing with guys, different things like that. And he was for it. He would pick me up from school, check me out, drive me out to a boy house, cover me with my mama. So I said, we became friends, you know, after that. We became friends. You know, some of my friends he used to try to mess with, I don't really know if he actually did or didn't, you know, because they won't tell. But to me, it became normal. You know, it became normal. Our encounters was maybe 4 to 5 times, our encounters. And they were always timed. You know, they were always timed. And they were, it was always some type of monetary gift from behind it. But, you know, when you're in the house and you're not getting anything because whatever reason your mother feel like you shouldn't, then it's kind of like you do what you do for to survive. In my aspect, I wasn't without like food, clothes, and things like that, but it was just the things that you want. Right. Prison took him away. He went on a long prison sentence, and that's what stopped it. Other than that, but by that time, I was like I had that taste of boys, men by then, right? So even with him gone, it still was on me. It still was on me. But this time, my relationship with my mother changed. It was like once he was out of the house, I began to build a certain bond with my mother. I spoke on it about her a couple of times, but it never resulted in something good. Instead, she would ridicule me again. You know, I can remember us getting into it, and she said, "Ugh, you slept with my man, you had sex with my man, or you know," and I was like, that's not what happened. And you know, even with all of that happened to my body, I never would tell my mama the details until a few years ago, because it's like when I close my eyes and I can see what he done to me, who would want to give that to somebody else? And about 3 years ago, my Aunt Pat I always used to talk to her about certain things, and because she was kind of like that one family member that she didn't play about the kids.
Yeah.
She was like the protector.
Yes.
You know, it was like we was not going to be around no men. Men did, you know, she didn't have a lot of men in and out of her house, so she was the protector. And I can remember telling her, you know, that it just keep coming up. And she said, get it out. Get it out of you. You know, she was like, tell your mama, tell her every detail, but get it out of you.
As an adult?
As an adult.
Okay.
In the last 3 years.
Okay.
And so one day, God made it perfect.
Okay.
Me and my mother had a conversation, and it was to the point for the first time she cried. She cried. When she cried, it was like I felt her.
Yeah.
I felt that she finally had that first pierce of the first violation.
Yeah.
Then she got angry. So then I felt her even more, and it was like the hug that I needed, the things that I needed to finally overcome this.
Yes.
The part of my body that was so numb, so dead, to the point where if I was to have a sexual encounter with a man, I could freeze up because I could see myself back to that little girl again. All of those things and every detail that I needed to share with her, she felt it. And after that call, it was just like, it just left me. It just left my body.
Yeah.
It just left my body. And it's like, now it doesn't overshadow me anymore. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel like I done anything wrong.
Right.
You know, my mother she finally said, how dare him?
Yeah.
You know, she was upset.
Yeah.
And he just recently passed, and she still is like, you know, you dirty.
Right.
You know, like that was where she was at.
Yeah.
But most importantly, she finally let me know, like, it was not you. I'm sorry. You know, I overlooked it. I didn't understand it.
Yes.
You know, I thought all the wrong things. And my aunt just let me know you were innocent. That's something that echoes to me a lot, because she always remind me, like, you were innocent.
Right.
You know, like, and it's nothing, it don't matter how it happened, what happened, you were innocent in the situation. And if nobody ever tells you, you know, just know, you know, it was not your fault.
Right. Right.
And so that's how today I'm able to talk about it. I don't have any animosity towards my mother when it comes to it, because at once upon a time, I hated her and my sister. I did. Yeah. And I know hate is such a strong word, but it's like, I always wondered, like, how can you, as a mother, as a person, both of them have been sexually assaulted. How could you not feel me when I told you something happened to me? Yes. How could you not react? How could you not be angry? How could you not be sad? How could you not hug me? How could you not? That was my question to them.
Right.
And so, you know, God dealt with me on that, that you had to forgive, you know, and it's not for me to understand, but it is time for me to heal.
So let's talk about what healing looks like. You know, vividly, when you were saying, like, when you had a sexual encounter as an adult, you know, you would almost reverted back to like this 8-year-old girl, or this, you know, 6th grader, this 7th grader, you know, this preteen, this teenager. As you have become an adult, had the conversation, what does the healing process look like? What did it look like for you as you continue?
The healing process is, I've always learned that whenever you can talk about something or talk about someone, is when you know that you have overcome it.
Yeah.
And when I was able to engage in a conversation with that person, my mother's ex-boyfriend, and not have any type of ill feelings in my heart, or in the last 6 months, he was on hospice. And he called my mother and requested an exercising bike because he wanted to live. And she wasn't going to give it to him. She was like, no, you know. And I was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Give it to him.
Yeah.
You know, don't do it, because then you're going to be stuck with what I had inside of me. And you don't want that inside of you. You don't want that. You want to release that. And so when I first, when I was getting ready to fight my case in federal prison, God spoke clearly to me about forgiveness. That's one of the biggest thing I got. And it was like, you got to forgive.
Yes.
You got to forgive. You're not going to forget it, but you have to forgive. So it was not about them. It was about me.
Yeah.
And I had to own the fact that I was a kid. That's
Yes.
it. Not
Yes.
hold myself responsible for it. I don't look in the mirror and think that I'm ugly. You know,
Right.
I don't feel like I did something wrong. One of the things that I feel like we need to start redirecting and teaching, we always teach little girls of what to do. But do we teach our little boys how to look at a woman? Do we teach our little boys that you're not supposed to touch an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old? Do we teach our 20-year-olds that she's 14 and she's spreading, that could be your little sister, your little cousin?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But also, one of the things me and my mother talked about is everybody is considered to be a predator.
Yeah.
You, me, you know, we don't say what does a predator look like.
Yeah.
We prepare our kids for everybody. We talk about we don't think that, if we leave little girls with their aunt, that something can't happen.
Could happen. Yeah.
It can happen.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so this is great stuff. So those of you who are tuning in, if you've experienced this, or you know someone, then let's back up and look at these steps. The first thing is, let it be known that, first of all, you were supposed to say something. You did the right thing by saying something. But the most important thing that I liked that Aunt Pat said was, you were innocent.
Correct.
You were not the one that was wrong in this. So we need to create that, and then we need to be able to encourage and achieve and walk in forgiveness. You know, being able to do that.
Right. And also, we also have to hold people accountable.
Yes.
We have so many families that sweep it under the rug. That's just truth. We sweep it under the rug. You know, I have a cousin right now to this day that was molested by a girl cousin.
Yeah.
And it's like it's an elephant in the room. It's an elephant in the room. And, you know, I think that when it's a family member, you're not prepared to address it. If I told you my teacher touched me, it would be no problem for you to go to that school, address it.
Right.
But when I tell you my sister put me in the tub and play between my legs, you're gonna.
Right.
How do you address that?
Right.
You know, as a mother, if your daughter comes and tell you that your other child did something to you, how do you split that love and how do you address that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but it's a real conversation.
It is.
It happens.
It is.
It happens.
It is. And I like how you and your mother have now decided on solutions. Like when y'all talk about it, you say one of the things is not only do we teach little girls what to do and what not to do, we also need to teach our young boys, our sons, our nephews, you know, hey, boy, this is not what you do at this age.
Correct.
And this is not what you do is inappropriate, or whatever the steps are. But even more so that anybody can be the predator.
Anybody could be the predator. And also stop making the victim feel like they did something wrong. Like, even when women are raped, the first thing they talk about is what she had on.
Yeah.
Where was she located at?
Yeah.
The men or whoever did it, it's never looked at them. But especially when it's a woman versus a man, it's always just like, what did the woman do wrong?
Right. You know, this has been great conversation, and I know that our time is just about up. But what would you say to a person who has experienced this type of trauma? What would you say to them, to speak life to them, to give them, what's your words to them?
If you're a person that's like me, I would tell you the same thing that my aunt told me, is that you are innocent. Get it out. Whether it's therapy, if you have to confront the person that did it to you, make sure that you get it out of you. Don't go to sleep with it. You have to go to God with it. You're definitely going to need God every day. But most importantly, get it out of you. Get it out. I don't care if you have to write a note and send it to everybody that affected you. Go to therapy. But most importantly, get it out of you. And if it happened, you're innocent. You didn't do anything wrong. Don't look at yourself any differently. Pick yourself back up. Don't let those insecurities, that confidence, that ickiness, because it's such a nasty feeling that's left over you. You know, it makes you feel so nasty. Nobody understands it. You know, it's like you can never wash it off of you. You can't. You just have to live with it.
So, great advice. This has been, you know, thank you for your transparency. I know that this is helping someone. Just the message itself will free someone. But, you know, to say something about it, that you need Christ counseling, crisis intervention,
Yes.
you know, all of these things. I'm going to make sure that we share at the end of this, like the number for you to call, crisis intervention line, so that if you or someone you know is experiencing this and needs either to talk to someone and or you want to get someone help, we want to provide you with that as well. So we are praying for you, and please know that if it happened to you, you are innocent in it. It's not your fault. God still loves you. God will restore you. God has a plan for you, and all you have to do is start walking through those steps of forgiveness. Yeah, this has been Moments with Mona in the Who's Next show here with Delinda Rogers. Man, it's look, the survivors, aka overcomers, like this whole thing is the overcomer show. So you have definitely overcome. Thank you so much for stopping by, and thanks for sharing your story. Until next time, this has been Moments with Mona and the Who's Next show. Bye.